He's got to recite.
Over here, Bill.
Thanks, Dory.
You have the November 10, 2014 Planning Board draft minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Yeah.
Any deletions, corrections, additions?
One correction on page 4, Dory. Just above, the motion did not go forward. It says we cover it in the GIS, it should be GEIS.
Anything else, Liz? Anybody? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The first item on our agenda, Mr. George Karam, 625 French Road, final site plan review. Zach, are you going to take us through this?
Yeah, I'll go through it.
Is there a letter from, Kristen, you look this over?
Take that here, run the table.
That's what we're doing.
Figured I would just go through the comments quickly that we received from you at the last meeting as well as your traffic engineer. At the last meeting, I came up, they wanted a do not enter sign, two of them actually in this location on the driveway, second driveway. So they actually goes in accidentally the wrong way, one way. Number 2 on our memo was a directional arrow along the back of the restaurant. When I was actually out there, I noticed there actually isn't a visible arrow on the pavement, so that was the name. In conjunction with that, one-way sign was requested. I've shown a one-way sign here on the building, as well as one on this side, as well as pavement on this side, so it's clear that it's one-way all the way around. One of the comments was, from your traffic engineer, was access to the dumpster, which is up in this location. I spoke with Mr. Karam about it. His garbage dumpster service, they usually come about 2, 3 in the morning, so I don't think it's a particular issue in terms of location. When you get to it, there's no cars there at that time, so. Parking spot number 34, which is this parking spot out here. This concern is anybody turning in, if somebody's backing up, there's a conflict. So we just restrict this and remove the parking spot and include in our calculations on the revised drawing. We also had a comment about this parking space up here, which was number 23. He was concerned about the conflict of people backing up in this parking space and requested we eliminate one of the spaces. So we've actually striped that area as well and remove that parking spot. His last comment is just his concern that there's enough parking spaces based on the code. Based on my review, we need 31 parking spaces, and we're actually providing 44 on the site, so I'm providing more than the minimum requirement. The last piece was we resubmitted the easement with a permanent designation on it, the attorney requested, which I attached to our revised submittal. And I guess I'll just turn over to any questions that anybody has.
Joe, do you have anything? No. You're satisfied with everything? Any questions from planning board members? Anything from you, Eric? No. Is there a motion to grant final approval?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion regarding this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on our agenda, Mr. Micheal Baldwin, 8944 Tibbitts Road in Hartford. Preliminary site plan review of the proposed airstrip. Do we have a map on this? I saw in some of this.
All of that is what I figured.
Hey, Mike, come out.
Thank you.
How you doing? It's been a while. I get confused between like that and that. Did they get the long form? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody's got that?
Got it.
So you've got the site in there. Just want to make sure everybody can see what it was we were talking about. Do you want to get going here? Or?
Sure.
Because everybody's taking a look at the plan, we know what the site's about.
I just wonder if his attorney's going to be here because he is represented by counsel.
No, we weren't planning on it.
Okay. This is on for a site plan approval, and I'm just going to hand out to you section 118-102 and 103. Yeah, they're 102 and 103 together.
Oops.
102, 103, 102, 103,
Okay, so you got 102, 103.
102, 103, here they are, they're together.
Okay. You got one.
You need a couple more
Okay, I
back
got one
here.
down there, okay.
102, 103.
I got 103.
Julius, I'm going to send them through Dory the next time. 103.
Fire.
You got one right there.
I have 102 and 103. Do you have a? I have 102 and 103.
There's a 102.
Okay, there's a 103.
I will.
This is from our ordinance. As you are aware, this is an application for site plan approval. This is a permitted use in the agricultural district. Section 118-102 provides the considerations for your planning board for review of site plan, which under G includes adequacy, type, arrangement of trees, shrubs, and other landscaping constituting a visual and/or noise deterring buffer between the applicant's land and adjoining lands, including the maximum retention of existing vegetation. Item I says protection of adjacent or neighboring properties against noise, glare, unsightliness, or other objectionable features. Those are two of your considerations. If you go to 103, which is the section regarding the specific standards you are to follow in your site plan approval, it says off-site impacts, development should be planned and undertaken so as to minimize impacts upon adjoining and nearby land uses to the extent practicable. B2, any noise, odor, vibration, dust, gas, or emission of any type that is likely to result from the nature of the operation shall not be hazardous or create a nuisance. A nuisance would be annoying or a noise creation. So that's the pertinent portion of our existing ordinance with regard to your requirements under site plan. The applicant has submitted to us, at my request, a full EAF, and there was some question as to why I requested a full EAF, and the reason is, even with this type of action, which I believe is an unlisted action under seeker, we can require a full EAF if we feel that there are issues that need to be addressed, such as noise, odor, health and safety issues, and that was the reason that we requested the full EAF. I would note on page 2, there's a references to government approvals. State agencies, and the box no is checked. I believe that the Department of Transportation has some jurisdictional involvement in this matter because under the general business law, there is a requirement that the town board would send it to the Department of Transportation, and they would have the authority to review the takeoff and landing procedures. So I believe that they would be what's called an involved agency, not an interested agency. Further, in looking at the full EAF, there's under on page 6 of 13, item F, does the proposed action include Or will it use on-site one or more sources of air emission, including fuel combustion, waste, incineration, or other process of operations? And under, if yes, which is checked, identify, and the applicant has indicated that there will be aircraft engine operation, which deals with combustion. If you go to page 8,
So there's nothing wrong with his, or the response that was given there, like?
no, I'm just
Okay,
highlighting.
I just want to make sure, okay.
Yeah.
Because the first one you said,
Well, I'll get to it in a second. The top of page 8, will the proposed action produce noise that will exceed existing ambient noise levels? And it says during construction, operation, or both. And the applicant has checked yes. Provide details including sources, time of day, and duration. He indicates small airplane engine, various times, daytime only, dry weather, 1 minute for each takeoff, landings, taxi power does not exceed normal ambient levels. So those are from the applicant's submission. And the point that I'm driving at is, number one, is this an action that is subject to seeker? And the law is very clear where a permitting is involved or a grant of a site plan approval, it is subject to seeker. The next step would be to classify the action, and in reviewing the statute, which I have the entire statute in detail, this appears to be what's called an unlisted action. It's not a type 1 or a type 2. Type 1, for example, is a major subdivision extending roads, etc. Type 2 is a minimal activity like getting a building permit on a house that does not require compliance with seeker. An unlisted action does require compliance with seeker. And as I indicated, we were entitled to request a full EAF and not be satisfied with the short form. We did request that. It is up to you folks to look at the criteria that we went through, make a decision whether or not you feel that there could be significant environmental impacts as it relates to noise, emissions, health and safety in terms of landing and takeoff. If in fact you do, then it would be up to you to make a motion to take lead agency status. And it would be at least a coordinated review with the Department of Transportation, because they would be involved under 249 of the General Business Law. And at that point, it would get sent out to the interested agencies and the involved agency. It would come back at the next month's meeting, and then you would make a determination as to whether or not you feel there are significant environmental impacts, and then we would go forward.
Yes, Liz.
I have two questions. In the, one of the first pages, the application information applicant, in project information, it's mentioned that approve this improvement made in 2011 before site plan review rule was adopted. What rule specifically?
Well, what happened is when we redid our ordinance last summer, under the permitted agricultural uses, under a site plan review is an air landing strip.
Okay.
Joe, what would the old ordinance, did that allow it?
It was silent on it.
It was silent, so our ordinance did not deal with it as a permitted use. So in 2011, it would not have been permitted because it wasn't listed as a permitted use. It only became a permitted use in August, July, August, whenever we adopted our new ordinance.
And my other comment on the application on page 6, E, it asks...
And I would note, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Liz,
sorry.
but that paragraph says level and seed to provide site suitable, and I think Joe, later on it says there would be no excavating, and I think, Joe, you feel that the work's already been done?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at the ortho photos, but I just wanted to note that the proposed action did disturb more than 1 acre and did create runoff during construction, and that would have been subject to a speedies permit and also require of a SWIP plan. I did speak to a few people today from Soil and Water, County Planning, and I had a call into DEC. So it would have fallen, because that went into effect in January of 2010, that requirement. But since everything is healed, so to speak, and then there wasn't any complaints during construction, I don't think there's any action, but I just wanted it noted that this would have had requirements for mitigation during construction because of the grading involved on the site.
And they would be interested parties in the
Yes.
secret coordinated
Yep.
review.
In the coordinated review.
Well, I think we need some help with this one, and using the secret process to do that would be a proper way to use that law to our advantage. For myself personally, it's a permitted use. I give strong deference to permitted uses. And I understand the concerns of neighbors, and I understand the concerns of Mr. Baldwin. So I think to give this the proper review that it needs, I would recommend that we pass a resolution declaring the planning board lead agency for coordinated review under secret, if someone's so inclined to make that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Any further discussion about
And
the
what
motion?
does, that would send it to the state DOT?
Yes.
And DEC and all the interested.
It would send it to the state DOT, but it isn't the 249 general business law criterion, because that would have to come from the town board.
Oh, okay.
But it would go to DOT for their input.
But also will there be interested agents also?
All interested agencies.
So it would go through our normal list.
And then when you get your responses back, if you feel that you have to do what's called scoping and make a determination of significance. If you feel that there are significant adverse environmental impacts, then there would be a positive deck that would be put in place, and it would be up to the applicant to deal with that.
I just had one more question, and maybe you don't know the answer, well, you would know the answer. Does the town have any ordinance regarding the decibel noise level?
No.
No.
Okay.
Then it might be that we might need some help on that as we proceed. The other comment I would have, our council indicated that the 30 days would possibly put it on our agenda for next month. That's highly unlikely by the time Dory's able to get this out. I can't think of a single time when we could make that 30-day time frame. So I just didn't want, I wanted everybody to understand that, in particular Mr. Baldwin. Are there any other questions or concerns regarding this motion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And we'll get that out as soon as we can. That'll start the 30 days for them to respond. If we think we need additional help, then we'll have to deal with that when we start seeing responses coming in. We might need Chris on this or somebody.
You're right.
Well, I mean, on the noise levels, unless somebody in that list comes back with some information for us.
I have a question on this. Is this the only complaint you've received? I mean, do we have any positive?
Yes, at the town board meeting, Mr. Baldwin presented a petition, I believe signed by 100 people? Approximately 100 people supportive of the landing strip. I believe there were probably 3 or 4 that were opposed that came to that meeting. And that was not a public hearing, it was just a public comment period.
Is that in the minutes of the town board meeting?
It is,
Okay.
should be.
Those people just
Take a look
came
at
one
that.
night to the board meeting? All of them just kind of coalesced around it?
Well, I think that people became aware that Mr. Baldwin was coming into the board. Under the general business law, the town, and Mr. Baldwin correctly brought a resolution to the town board to refer this to the Department of Transportation to review the landing strip. They have jurisdiction over it. So he was asking the town board to pass that resolution to send it out to the commissioner of the Department of Transportation for their review. The problem was that under our ordinance, it's a site plan review. So before you can get to that step, you have to, because a site plan review, even though it's a permitted use, it's discretionary with you whether or not to approve the site plan review. And in looking at the plan, it looked as though it was very close to, I can't think of the gentleman's name. Keaveney's property. It looks like one of the landing strips is within like 5 feet or 15 feet of the Keaveney property, which at some point there were discussions about this being used for recreational fields, for soccer and whatever. So there was a concern with regard to this, and based on our ordinance requiring site plan, it didn't make sense for the town board to send it before there was a review under site plan, because you folks are going to be lead agency and make the determination if the site plan fits within this location.
Okay, because I just, when you started.
That's a long
when you
answer,
started
I'm
out-
sorry.
No, that's okay. When you were starting out talking about different points you wanted to make in this, you had mentioned, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but that he didn't check the box correctly on this section B on the top of page 2.
I'm just calling your
But
attention.
no, let me just finish, but theoretically, at the end of the day, he went to the town board
He
because
did.
he realized that he did need some kind of other approval besides.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, just want to be clear on that, that's all. Yep.
Excuse me, Alice, may I address the board?
Sure.
I want to bring everyone's attention to a letter I put in your package that addressed that approval process. That it's my attorney's opinion that this board, because it's the board that grants the authority to operate the airstrip, that this board actually can authorize me to go to state DOT and make that request. So what I was asking for in this letter was a parallel process so that this doesn't take a whole year. Perhaps the resolution here is in your packet. If you could refer to this and pass that to allow me to make the state DOT request. And that process is an inspector from Albany comes out, reviews the site with a local representative from the town and myself, and then they do an airworthiness certification on it, and they measure whether or not it's up to meeting state standards. So they are an expert in this process.
Doesn't that overdo it with the secret process?
You are sending it to DOT, yes, but you're not passing that resolution.
What difference is it?
In talking to the DOT's legal department today, they said that that resolution would have to be passed by the town board. I indicated to them that we would contact them as an involved agency under SECRA, which we will do. We will refer this to the DOT, so the DOT will be involved in the process. That resolution, according to the legal department at DOT, has to come from the town board.
And has it?
No, they did not. They wanted you to do your review, because if you change the location or you don't give site plan approval, it doesn't make a lot of sense to send it to DOT. In talking to DOT's legal department, all they are going to look at are basically flight patterns, locations of roads, locations of wires, locations of other airstrips such as Mr. Humphrey's, which is in close proximity.
So, as our counsel, with all due respect to your counsel, you are telling us this is not something we would pass.
Not right now, no.
Yes, okay.
And that's according to what DOT counsel told me as well.
Anything else, Mike?
No, sir, thank you.
Anything else? Thanks, everybody, we're adjourned.
I think we have an issue coming up at the town board meeting this
Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
Wednesday
In
is
regard to the size of planning board and some other boards, and I think we should discuss that.
Well, I view that as strictly a town board issue. Brammer, so
I think it affects this board, and we should discuss it.
Well, that's a public hearing Wednesday also, so I
Yeah.
hope.
Our board has no say over our appointments, the size of our board. We have a wall between us and the town board. This is strict, in my view, under the law, in my view, even though we have counsel here, it is strictly a town board matter. I don't get involved with matters of the town board. So if you all want to discuss it, you can be my guest, but I will not be a part of the discussion.
Well, I would hope that all members of this board are there Wednesday night to discuss it.
Or at least to listen.
Well, that's up to you as individuals. Anything else? Then we're adjourned for a second time.
Joy, you want to work with me to sort this out?